Why do I bring this up that justice matters most? Because, folks, here is the President of the United States, Joe Biden, in a video commenting on a case. Keep in mind, this is before the jury had come to a conclusion. Here is Joe Biden, the President of the United States, commenting on the case, again, throwing a monkey wrench into justice when he could have just shut his mouth for a few hours and given a speech afterwards. Check this out.
I can only imagine the pressure and anxiety they're feeling. And so I waited till the jury was sequestered, and I called. And as I wasn't going to say anything about it, but Lonius said today on television, and he accurately said it was a private conversation because Joe understands what it's like to go through laws. And they're a good family, and they're calling for peace and tranquility, no matter what that verdict is. I'm praying the verdict is the right verdict, which is, I think it's overwhelming in my view. I wouldn't say that unless the jury was sequestered now. Not hear me say that.
This is the head of the law enforcement branch of our federal government, the executive branch, praying for the right verdict. The right verdict. Right before the jury's about to release their verdict. You think that's justice? Here's my second thought on this. Listen, it's clear the defense, the lawyers defending Officer Chauvin, obviously played for a hung jury. And I thought that they did a decent job installing reasonable doubt on the murder charge. But there's a process. I talk about process all the time. There have been no allegations of jury misconduct. And that is the process. The jury, which was agreed to obviously by the defense and the prosecution and the judge, there have been no allegations of misconduct. There's been no mistrial. They heard the evidence. Evidence you and I didn't hear all of it. I listened to as much and watched as much of the trial as I could. Did not hear everything. They came to a guilty on all charges verdict. But folks, that process also allows for appeal. I think the murder 2 charge I thought was a stretch from the beginning. I have also been conclusive and have not changed my mind one bit on my interpretation of the unjustified use of force at the end here. Unlike liberals who change their minds every few minutes, I'm standing on principle on this. Having said that, the lack of a sequester for the jury, who many of them may have heard Maxine Waters calling for a confrontation if the, quote, wrong verdict. Not quoting her, I'm quoting that's what she was implying. Inciting violence. Some of them may have heard that. The speed of the jury's decision. It's interesting. Is there going to be grounds for an appeal? Folks, that's the process too. You can't argue, and I refuse to argue. I will not change what I've said from day one on this. Respect the process. We did. The process, the jurors came down with a guilty on all charges count. Whether you agree or disagree, that is the process. You can't say respect the process and then not respect the process. Secondly, the process allows for an appeal. If you think there was an overcharging and a guilty verdict on a charge that wasn't warranted by the evidence, Chauvin has the opportunity to appeal on that as well. Having said that, the speed at which they came back is odd. Buyer beware. I have been involved in multiple trials as a federal agent and a police officer, okay? I have not been involved in a murder trial. But I have not seen or heard, knowing many police officers who have, a jury come back that quickly. Having said that, giving you the other side of it, because I like to give you both sides, when it comes down to a decision like this and the top charge is murder 2 and the subsequent charges are murder 3 and a manslaughter charge, the elements of it are generally the same outside of a couple other factors. If you agree to the top charge, murder 2, which obviously they all agreed on, the verdict had to be unanimous, the other 2 fell in line quickly. So there's 2 sides of it. Some people are saying they came back so fast, clearly they had already come to a decision before hearing all the evidence, and there should be grounds for appeal. That's what one side is saying. The other side is saying, well, if they all agreed on the top charge, the murder 2 charge, the other charges right away would fall in line. Again, I owe you somewhat of a professional analysis here, given all the hysteria and the Jason Johnson, Nancy Pelosi nonsense.